go through, because they didn't in the previous matchup, and I think that's the right decision overall. It's such a strong champion at the moment. If you are going to grab it, you want to grab it for yourself early on, so very unlikely to get to see it with top over on this blue side, unless, of course, NIP, they've got something crazy on the counter.
Yeah, and the problem with red side is they have to, like, throw a couple of these respect bans down, right? So I don't even know if they can get away with banning Vi, because they have to ban Skarner and Kalista. That's like standard LPL red side bans. Well, see if they get it on the third one here is Top Esports really targeting Doinby's champ pool here early on their own bans. And the Vi does slip through.
It does indeed. I would not be surprised if it's just going to be first pick. No.
Ooh, no, the
Straight.
Rumble.
Now, the Rumble is great. The Rumble is incredibly strong at the moment. 369's had a great time on it, and you can also put it into the mid lane if you want to move things around. You're not fully locked in to it being top. I would expect it to end up in the top lane, and 369 can carry on this one in a way that he really wasn't able to previously. Yeah, I'm not surprised that you were confused by that one. This is the problem, though, with being on blue side and first picking yourself up something like the Rumble, which is good. You're giving away two of the best picks in the entire meta at the moment. Cassante, Vi, that's the engage of your composition sorted. Done and dusted. You don't have to worry about that anymore. You can now move on to the damage threats. And on top of that, these two champions can do a ton as well. And the fact that you've got a Rumble you already see, now you're picking yourself a Varus into this composition. JackeyLove had a bad time in the previous game. I don't see the Varus particularly making that any easier to bear.
No. No matter how you build it, no matter what summoners you're taking here, Varus is pretty immobile. Cease and desist is coming through whether you throw the Chains of Corruption out or not. But JackeyLove wants to be in a pretty big damage position. I already expect this to be on hit, so I think he's going to scale up and try and be a menace. Do see Chris lock in the Leona, so pretty good combo, right? Layer the Equalizer with a Solar Flare to get maximum advantage out of that ultimate, but, Doinby Akali. This is at IP's, we've figured out their sauce, Bloxer. They are just going to make JackeyLove's life hell in this series.
Miserable. JackeyLove is not allowed to play League of Legends today. It's not happening. Go home. Give up at this point. No, I mean, you're going to have to draft yourself some more protection right here. Crisp on the Leona is a good start, but it is a very small start. And also, taking the Leona in this situation gives you that engage that you're really looking for, but it does nothing really to stop the full-blown dive that we're seeing out of NIP. Something like Renata, I think, would have potentially fit a little bit better to try to counter what NIP are doing. Of course, you don't just want to play into your opponents and just try to counter what they're doing. You need to do your own things. That's where the Leona is really going to be coming in right now. But both these compositions kind of have the same sorts of ideas, just slightly different ways of going about it. You're still wanting to front-to-back team fight. NIP, though, they're going to go flying in to start that fight.
I like this. They are doing a rarity, especially in Fearless format, committing to a similar style of play with completely different champions. Creme on the other side, though, in the second phase, gets his champions knocked down. Silas is a staple. He played the Tristana earlier in the series, would have been really good at Doinby's Akali. But this Ashe really would solidify the pick potential comp for Ninjas in Pyjamas once more.
Yeah, it does stop it from being that full dive into the backline composition. Same thing with the Jhin. I actually prefer the Jhin here. I think that Ashe would kind of be wasted on this composition. Yeah, sure, you can make it into a pick comp, and there is good follow-up on those Enchanted Crystal Arrows, but I think you can get the same sort of effect with the Jhin while saving the Ashe to be a bargaining tool later on. TES, they are very much also playing around a pick sort of composition, but
where
right
is the
now,
protection? There's no JackeyLove protection in this comp.
JackeyLove dies.
JackeyLove dies every time.
Every time. You're relying on Creme and 369 to be able to play around the rest of this matchup and be able to get the kills going once everybody's jumped JackeyLove and decided that he's not allowed to play the game anymore. And we are going to see the Alistar that was hovered last time be locked in, and this composition, it's super tanky, it's got some backline threat, it can go front to back if you want it to with the Jhin. I really like what Ninjas in Pyjamas have gotten for themselves here.
Yeah.
TS's composition, I think it's okay, like, in and of itself, but into what Ninjas in Pyjamas have, that leaves me a little bit more suspicious.
Yeah, I'm worried, because even, I think if we're framing these compositions, right, even if Top Esports, play aggressive with this Ahri, the Wukong, the Rumble, there is not a lot of reliable damage outside of JackeyLove in this comp, right? You cannot rely on a Wukong or an Ahri in major fights to churn out enough damage. This Top Esports they're just really backing themselves into a corner in a game where they really have to win. It's your reverse sweep if you lose this one. That's the only option left, or your season's over.
Yeah. Yeah, or you're done for an entire split. It feels so bad to lose out onto this one. The momentum would be fully against them. Something actually, Top Esports were coming into this series with the momentum. They were able to best out their opponents. Not the same thing for NIP. All of a sudden, though, things can reverse. This is the nature of these games. Everything on a knife's edge at this point. Oh, let's see it. Let's see it. What can you do here as Top Esports? You got Wukong, right? That's a great ganking jungler. Once you get that level 6, let's see it. Let's see just how much you can get into these lanes, how much you can really exert your will onto your opponents, Kanavi. There's no ways to just sit back and allow this game to happen to you, otherwise we may end up in the same situation.
The advantage here for Top Esports, definitely going to be able to play the map a bit more aggressive with the roam ability threat of the Ahri, but it's all about this early to mid game. Honestly, for both compositions, and even early, right? I feel like a lane swap, if you want to try to alleviate pressure on JackeyLove, still doesn't work that well because you've got Shanji K'Sante on the other side. Will easily gobble up a lane swap versus the Rumble.
Yeah, and this is one of the best bits about the K'Sante, is that he's very good in these lane swap situations at just sort of allowing that to happen. He doesn't really mind. Diving him, it works sometimes, but even when you do get the kill, you end up spending so much time on the dive, somebody dies back, or you don't get as much benefit from it, you don't get as much time on the turret plating as you would want. It's really hard champion to try to play it around. At the same time, if this isn't a lane swap, if we don't end up seeing Shanji playing up against the bot lane of Top Esports, well, it's actually quite a hard matchup for you to play into the Rumble. You can get solo kills, especially once you hit level 6 if you can all in, but at the same time, 369 should be able to poke down Shanji quite a lot and potentially open up some gank opportunities for Kanavi.
Deep ward for ppgod cleared out on that bot side. Does at least let Ninjas and Pyjamas know that it's going to be a bot to top clear here for Kanavi as the lane swaps do come out. Kanavi going, or Shanji, excuse me, going for the strat of giving some room to his melee mid laner and then teleporting back in. Is a rough spot for Shanji, but as we're going to continue to highlight, as long as he's not giving away gold, you're not too mad about the K'Sante falling behind as expected. Because this is worse to fall behind in if you're on the 369 side of it.
Absolutely. A K'Sante from behind is still a K'Sante, whereas the Rumble, the swing in what he can do in a game from ahead on behind is massive. The Equalizer is going to have to be a big part of the actual AoE damage from this composition. Otherwise, Creme, JackeyLove, they're very single target in who they're trying to kill. And there isn't really one good option on this NIP composition. Who do you choose as your one kill? I guess you'd like to be getting on top of Leave, but it's very unlikely that a Jin's going to be that close. He should be way further back.
Outrages everybody. Yeah, it's such a great match, even into this, where we're likely going to see lethality JackeyLove. I talked about how I would have liked the on-hit. I'll admit I jumped the gun a little bit on that one before the rest of the draft kind of manifested. The Akali came out and stuff like that, but we're going to continue to talk about. This is one of the toughest games for JackeyLove to play in, and the nerves are getting to him. My man taking 2 turret shots for nothing right there.
And you don't want to be giving away free damage over, because there's always a situation in which K'Sante just snaps and goes, nope, you're dead. And, I mean, it works out for him more often than not. See, 369, he's going to have a slightly easier time of it. Obviously, you've got the ability to long-range farm slightly more, although he does take a huge chunk of damage here. Yeah, ouch.
You'll lose the Kanavi in the background. Ignite
He gets
down.
ignited, wow.
Dark Harvest stack over for Leave, so long-term investment gains there for the carry.
Exactly what you're looking for. And so, these lanes, they're volatile, they're exciting, they're explosive. Who can exploit that right here, Kanavi or Aki? Aki obviously had a much better game previously, and the Vi, I think, is the best jungler in the meta at the moment. It's a shame, slightly, that you can only get it once when it comes to this Fearless, because I think it's so much fun to watch. Kanavi, though, looking to cash his in. Here's the dive.
Yep. Welcome to K'Sante Gaming in the early game. Shanji, though, does get a good brunt. Crisp is going to have to flash out, drop the aggro. JackeyLove takes it. Shanji's still surviving with the turret aggro juggled just masterfully enough. JackeyLove grabbing first blood. Exactly where you need the goal to go if you're Top Esports.
I was deeply worried there. Everybody was so close. One last turret shot away from dying, but it works out. And actually, they're able to do it swiftly enough that they pick up a turret plate and a half as well. Good play out of Top Esports, exactly what they needed after the early game disaster that they had on the previous matchup. Look back at this one. Shanji honestly plays this one out pretty well.
A lot of flashes burned for sure. Wow.
Yeah, you get a flash out of, I think, everybody.
Out of JackeyLove too, actually.
Oh no, Kanavi doesn't have to flash, so that's at least one flash retained, but yeah, not gonna be the end of the world. You can see, even despite all of that, Shanji's still not down in XP. It's still absolutely fine in terms of his peers at the moment. It's actually been the bot lane right here out of Ninjas in Pyjamas who have had the slightly rougher time of it, being able to actually step up as much as they would like to see their CS. So we continue to watch top laners versus bot laner gaming. Not necessarily the most exciting to watch. Exactly, but luckily there are objectives spawning now.
Okay, good, unstoppable.
Just
Shanji actually avoids all of the major crowd control there with that one. Oh, that's flash on 369, so that bottom lane you were a bit worried about. Get a key summoner out, and you know, Bloxer, luckily for you and all the fans at home, the two roles that have the most power when their ultimates come online, they're coming through here, especially once doinb gets this perfect execution. This mid lane gets a lot easier.
Yeah, that is going to be a potential explosive matchup. You could potentially even get solo kills here. doinb has been known... They're rare. We don't see them that much nowadays, that's for sure. But hey, they do happen. I got to see one today. I've cost a lot of games for there to be one.
It's not a good ratio.
No, not necessarily, but still, with level 5s, nearly level 6s for these junglers, that's the point at which I think things are going to get very explosive. Not actually going to be ticking the level 6s, though, are those junglers or bot laners, so this play much harder to try to go in for Ninjas in Pyjamas. Still, I think they're going to try for it. Teleport behind.
Oh, yeah. No level 6, though, on Shanji, so... But a big engage from ppgod. The headbutt pulverized. He's trying to throw Creme out, but he just sacrificed himself. Beef to the slaughter right there. JackeyLove does drop on the backside, though, to Aki. So support for AD carry for now, but the health bars a bit more in control of Ninjas in Pyjamas. How much more space do we want to buy? They take one grub to make sure there's no 3 grub, and everybody's going to walk away here. Got to think that fight looks a lot more explosive. We have more ultimates available.
Oh yeah, the second that you've actually got the level 6 available on Aki, JackeyLove dies. I mean, if he's the target. He dies. There's nothing that JackeyLove can do. Although he's got 2 kills already, so he's at least had a fun time before these key ultimates come in. But watch this fight, right? Watch the point at which ppgod goes in, and the point at which the teleport is actually completed.
Too early.
So early. They are way too early on this one. Imagine these low health bars that you can see on Kanavi and Crisp. But there's a Cassante who's actually able to join this fight. Shanji kind of just teleports and arrives at this fight to be bodyguard at the very end. Way too early, and a little bit of a crack showing for NIP that we didn't get to see in the previous game.
If there's one thing about ppgod that makes him so fun to watch and questionable is that this guy always wants to go in. So, mess with the bull. The horns weren't available for ppgod next time, but once he gets that ultimate on, it's on for ppgod in this one.
All of a sudden, you can jump into the back line, use that Unbreakable Will, and it's a lot less of a bad decision. You pair that alongside Shanji actually being there, and that's a good team fight for NIP. In the previous game, they had a decent team fighting composition, but were really looking for the picks beforehand. I think that's the same way you want to play this one out. If you can pair doinb and Aki up early on to get yourself a pick onto Creme or JackeyLove, maybe onto 369 before the team fight starts, then these fights are going to be much, much easier to play out. Otherwise, top, they do have really good team fighting. It's a little bit single target, you know, they're not potentially going to be able to do as much massive AoE as they'd like, but to be honest, neither can their opponents. But at the same time, 369, if he can get a good ulti down into the backline, it just ruins what NIP are looking to do.
I think if I enough space somehow from JackeyLove could make even more successful gains, but the comp against him is designed to make his game even more unplayable than last time. Shanji, though, definitely the one feeling the most unplayable gameplay currently, as he was dove early on, and now he's staring down another one. This time, Kanavi and Creme have ultimates available, but they're a little bit wary about it. Wave is thinning as well, so they gotta go if they're gonna go now. Ignite down, good brunt of the first bit of CC, but the all-out drops your defenses, and it's JackeyLove to snipe home his 3rd kill of the game.
Another kill, constantly putting Shanji down. Same time, though, you end up losing yourself out onto that Drake, and now, yeah, you can see 369 knows that something's up, uses that ulti to try thin out the wave, might potentially still get dove here regardless.
IP are collecting a lot on the map, though, for that Shanji dive. They get the first dragon, they get some serious plates down in that mid lane, and boy, you can tell they really do want this dive here. Oh, yeah. Shuriken does not cancel the back here, and 369's awareness grants him a very important reset.
Yeah, gonna lose quite a lot though. Definitely gonna lose that first turret placed at least. And Creme has arrived here. Doesn't have the ulti. Used that previously.
Right, and flash vault breaker Rocky. They have the clone call from all the way across the map. Gonna get out of the deadly flourish shots when it's ppgod flying on in. Aki picks it up with the vault breaker. May not be who they came for the first time looking for the dive, but still a kill secured for NIP nonetheless.
A kill's a kill, doesn't matter onto who right here, and to be honest, stopping Creme in his tracks might be more important. Does have the teleport available, but has been having a pretty good early game, farming up really well, putting himself into a good spot, nearly at that first completed item. It's going to be a real downer on the early game right here for Top's mid laner. Doinby going to get another turret plate into his back pocket, working on that third, getting himself a decent little advantage over his opponent. We've also got the next set of grubs spawning in just over 10 seconds time. Now the first set was split 50-50 right here. Neither team is going to be able to get all 6, but if NIP could grab the next 3, that would help them a lot in terms of their tower taking, but I think they just want the team fight around here more.
Oh,
that's the ulti bomb.
Here. Unbreakable Will was available for ppgod, so he's just going to trade ultimates, but a lot of ultimates not going to be available for this grub take. Make it a bit of a wary tale for NIP to try and fly in. Mostly that cease and desist for Aki still not up yet, but he's going for a bit of highway robbery here. I wonder how long he's going to stick around. I figure he only take 1, but he's going for a second. And
if you can grab the second, that would be great. But at the same time, there's absolutely no reason to throw your life away. The worst you can go is even at this point. So who cares? Move on with this one. It is just going to be a mid lane push being established right here by NIP. Actually going to be able to push this one under the tower fully, but still not going to be the end of the world. Drake not spawning again for another 2.5 minutes. We've actually got quite a lot of downtime here, unless of course Crisp gets jumped. Yep, there it is.
Aki over the wall. Good flash away from him, but pulverized though. Gonna keep Crisp safe. Turns around with the solar flare, forces leave out of his cleanse. Zenith blade engages right back onto Aki, and boy, have the tables turned on this engage. Down goes Aki. That's a shutdown given over to Kanavi, who definitely needed it most.
Yeah, Kanavi has been having a bit of a quiet game so far, able to pick up that kill and go a long way. And that was also the cleanse immediately out of leave. A really nice solar flare from Crisp. Crisp had a pretty quiet game in the previous one. Really unfortunate when your ADC keeps getting jumped by everybody. Not really any way for him to be able to keep his ADC alive. This time around, though, very much, again, needs to be that body blocker and is doing a good job of it. Being said, there's now going to be first items completed on quite a lot of champions in this game.
We've talked about it, right? With top up against IG, so many of their players really stepping up and really revolutionizing their game. Kanavi, one of those, and it's just such a quiet couple of games for him. I know even he gets that shutdown, but we haven't seen a big Wukong Cyclone. We got no value out of that Sejuani. Still waiting on Top Esports' jungler to find his form here if they want to increase this small lead that they've made.
Yeah, they really do need to accelerate this game for themselves just a little bit. The scaling's pretty even between these two compositions. I don't think there's a massive advantage either way. Yeah. But at the same time, you do, once you get a small advantage, want to really push it right here, because you do have something like the Wukong that can fall behind if you aren't able to do that. 40 seconds until this Drake is going to be spawning. You've got bot lane priority established for top, although Doinby going in. If you can just get the ult, it's big. Nah, not quite.
Just going to poke down. A lot of single target damage, and while, you know, the scaling may be even, it's really damage questions that are going to become present for Top Esports, especially as this game goes on. Not only because the Ahri is a question, but when you go this lethality Varus, right? You do start to lose valuable target selection the tankier your opponent gets. Especially talking about Shanji and ppgod as this game goes on.
Yeah, they're not going to care. They are absolutely not going to mind if JackeyLove decides to throw a couple of those piercing arrows into him. The thing is, though, Doinby, Leave, Arky, they very much will care, and those are going to be the main targets you're looking at. You're not really focusing on these tanks. The only issue with that, though, is if Shanji gets far enough ahead that you can't kill him, Ari's not going to shred through a tank. Neither is JackeyLove with this build. Nobody's going to be able to deal with him. Now, Shanji's been put very far behind. It's not the end of the world so far, but we will have to keep an eye on that.
Yeah. Could have a dragon fight here.
Chains.
Going to hit Shanji. Does make Aki bail out of the pit. He does secure the dragon, but there's the lockdown from Kanavi. Picks off Aki once more. Shanji having to flash back here. Creme has some charges of Spirit Rush. Top Esports looking to push the tempo. They do have Leaf section out. He has to flash over the big wall to get back towards his turret. Dragon's secure, but now Doinby maybe a little too far forward. Does have the space that Kali allows, so Ninjas in Pyjamas are going to pay their jungler's life for some dragon stacking.
Interesting decision from top to jump the enemy jungler after he smoked the Drake down. I'm personally a big fan of the jumping the enemy jungler before that happens, but still, they're able to get the kill. Generally, it is, but they're able to get the kill back. They're having decent success in these team fights, and it really is off the back of these equalizers more than anything. The start of the fight is obviously just everybody going full in onto Aki, and they just don't really get the angle onto him, unfortunately. Creme wasn't quite in the area to be able to jump Aki beforehand, but it's at this point where you see the equalizer come through and everybody's just scattered to the hills. And Leaf having to flash there, that's a big flash gone. We had so much praise for Leaf in the previous game. It's been a very quiet one so far. Collector completed. She went for those Rifty boots early on, which I'm very surprised by, but hey, getting back out onto the map off those recalls is very important. And this game, much less bloody than the previous one. I don't think we're going to be getting a ruinous Atacant this time around.
Yeah, we already know. We're going to go back to Voracious.
Voracious.
But
which I prefer, definitely. It's much more interesting, and I think it's going to change up the dynamic here, because all of a sudden you really do want to actually send some real focus towards it and try pick it up.
Yeah. Top side going to be the focus of this next fight here, and got to keep an eye on the summoner advantage here for Top Esports. JackeyLove's going to be as comfortable as he can be. There's flashes available for all of Top Esports, but it's Ninjas in Pyjamas looking to force the issue in the jungle so far. That cease and desist, Kanavi wanted it. Baits in Aki, who now has to flash out of his own ultimate. Chains of Corruption going to fund him from JackeyLove as well. This is the fight Top Esports needs, singling out one member at a time. They're going to pay their life for Chris with the equalizer down, though. 369 is getting so much value out of this ultimate, and ppgod is going to fall even through his unbreakable will in quotation marks. There's the Top Esports we were expecting. Break it open for 3 kills to none.
They're going to be able to trade this one in as well for a Rift Herald, and that's off of a highly over-aggressive play out of NIP's jungle. Aki goes flying in, decides to use that ulti onto Kanavi, who's already a pretty tough target to try to kill, and ends up getting taken way too deep. And beyond that, when we have a look back at this replay, it's not just that equalizer that's huge out of 369, it's also the cancelling of the curtain call. I don't know if we're actually going to be able to see it on the backside of this fight, but at the point at which the curtain call comes through here, 369 then walks up just towards Leaf, forces him to stop that one, and that's a ton of the teamfight damage just evaporated. Leaf.
Oh, and Doinby caught out in the pip as well. Great find from Crisp, and the rest of the damage comes through. We had a lot of worries about this Top Esports composition in this game, but their single target damage and lockdown was the one thing they're going to prevail with, and it's exactly how they've impressed so far.
And it's the kind of composition where, hey, if it starts going well, you can keep it going well. You can really keep the momentum very much intact, and Top Esports are doing that to great effect right now. And a half until they're going to have a Drake to try to play around. For the minute, though, it's just about these turrets, trying to absorb as much gold as you possibly can from the standing objectives around the map. And with Creme managing to pick up this top lane tier 1 tower, just continues to expand that gold lead he's got right now over Doinby. 1.2k up. Nobody is down right now for TES. Ninjas in Pyjamas, it's very much getting to crunch time where they need to find that fight, that pick, something to get their game started.
You know, it's just going to add more pressure to the guy who already made a pretty big mistake here. Aki, he is the pivotal tool. Once more, Nocturne game we saw it is on this Vi. And going forward, you got to be clicking cease and desist onto 2 champions in my mind. Well, you could get away with 369, but it should be Creme and JackeyLove only. Anybody else? It's a tough spot to be in.
Yeah, 369 on a pick, potentially. And to be honest, 369 is dealing a lot of the team damage right now, despite only being one item. Yeah, the other two definitely going to be a lot more. And you know what? So far, we were wrong. We talked about how JackeyLove was very much dead in almost every single situation, but NIP, they've never paid that back. They have never actually been able to do what this composition really ostensibly set out to do. They haven't been able to get into the backline, and when they have, it's more than enough damage from the rest of the TES composition to make up for it. Also going to be able to start up this Drake. It's the first Drake top are going to be able to grab for themselves, so not too bad to give over for NIP, but still, it just shows that they're kind of losing control of the map right here, losing bot lane tower as well.
Yeah, but that's a big win con for them. Was Ocean Soul could have really given them a lot of space, especially against the clear poke that JackeyLove has. They're trying to set up a flank here, but JackeyLove with the move speed boost is going to get himself out, and both those bot tier 1 turrets are up, so you definitely turtle towards there safely. Top Esports going to avoid the trap being set here. And like you mentioned, Bloxer, we are just waiting, not just for Aki, but Doinby especially. I mean, this is like a borderline side lane Akali in this game.
Yeah.
Just 2 KP to the name.
Hasn't been able to get involved in any kills, hasn't been able to start any kills for himself either. And I was so excited when I saw this Akali locked in.
So excited.
We've seen some really cool Akali games so far in the LPL. We've seen some cool Akali games from Doinby so far this split, but it just hasn't happened for him in this one, and that's always a worry. When the Akali gets a couple of kills, it's almost nightmarish for opposing squishies. But in this one, where you're just sort of wandering around and you have some level of threat, but it's kind of just a Hextech belt, that's really not enough damage to be able to just one-shot assassinate anybody but JackeyLove right now, and it really reduces the amount of use you can get out of this Akali. The Ahri at least doesn't give you that much extra in terms of just pure utility, but she does at least have a charm. She helps in some way.
She definitely has so far in this game. Is Top Esports still the more aggressors? Dumping a lot onto ppgod though.
Kanavi,
That's the Alistair, and here comes the turn. Aki gets the cease and desist. Here's the bullet time out coming across, but it will not find the kill onto Chris. It's Kanavi to drop first here. Here comes Aki and Doinby, but 369's damage is massive. It has to be the take. Shanji gonna go out. They're looking for JackeyLove, but he's kind of back safely towards his alcove and his team. Shanji too far up on his lonesome, and now it's 369's time. Equalizer down. Flashes galore as NIP are sent skyward. And a trade of kills is all we find, with a ton of summoners and ultimates down.
And the game just does not go well for NIP at any point. Over-aggressive again and again. They need to find these fights, though. This is the sort of aggressive, all-in play I would have liked to see from NIP about 10 minutes ago. At this point, you're already down enough gold that you can really start to feel the wallet diff slipping in. This should be a pretty quick kill in and out, right? You're able to jump onto the over-aggressing opposing jungler, get that kill, leave. But with the ulti, with the clone, you're able to live just a little bit longer, and they get baited in and then over-chased. And Shanji here, we had a lot of praise for him in the previous game. Way too aggressive. Way too aggressive. Yeah.
That flash definitely hurt to watch, for sure. JackeyLove continues to survive here. And its time is ticking, because at a certain point, that wallet diff is only going to become more and more of a problem. And IP are starting to lose big structures here. They knock down the mid-tier 2 turret. So much of the map opens up for Top Esports with Baron coming up in 2 minutes, and Ocean Drake and Atakan all on the map. It gets so much harder for NIP to really answer across the map right now.
Atakan still here. Really big buff if you can pick it up for either of these teams. Now, you need to be careful with Top Esports. I've seen good teams throw great situations in games around both Atakan and Baron, and having them both up at the same time can be way too tempting of a battle location for teams. They can forget that they have side lanes, mid lanes, well, any lane potentially, and they sort of just sit in the top side staring at each other, waiting for somebody else to start up the Atakan before them. Doinby potentially getting collapsed here. I think he's going to be alright. I don't think that Crisp is particularly hunting for him, but yeah, still has to back out, still has to be careful. Atakan going to be touched, but not really started up. We get some recalls through. Second items are finally coming online right here for NIP. They're not too far behind in terms of their raw items at this point in the game. So it might actually be a good point for NIP to try to find themselves another fight.
The main difference being that B1 Rumble from 369, who in their series up against IG. Definitely the last series of the regular split against LGD was massively impressive. Back to the upper 6s to high 9s in the good old-fashioned 369 grading scale. And he's just doing so much damage in these fights. And the problem here is, as we move forward, it doesn't feel like we're getting to a point where Shanji can be a real answer to the side lane split 369. He's just so much further ahead that Shanji really gets neutralized for any fight.
Shanji has
upcoming.
one item.
Yeah, I mean, there you
and
go.
They're
exactly.
all magic resist at the moment. Like, he gets shredded at the moment by anybody who breathes on him with some AD damage. He has to itemize like this, though, because 369 is so strong. And it was the first pick of this Rumble, so we were hoping it was going to be paid off. You can't first pick the Rumble and then not have this kind of performance. 369 definitely having a good one so far. Everybody hovering around here. Where's the engage?
Who is going to make the first blow here? Both teams with more than enough engage available. Charm down onto ppgod. Gonna look to jump in. Has that Unbreakable Will going. I wonder if top esports may slow down with that ult going, but no. Chris wants to go in. Maybe a bit ill-advised, but they just burn through the cow's HP. Down goes ppgod. 369 is an absolute juggernaut on the Rift right now for TES.
It just doesn't matter that you've got that Unbreakable Will for ppgod. He goes down anyway, and it just felt like NIP was standing there, fish in a barrel, not really sure how they could engage to try to actually pick themselves up anything specific, any real kills. And right here you can see there's no snap decision to go towards the Baron. They don't think they'll be able to take it quickly enough before their opponents have respawned or joined in with these fights. NIP feel like they're just faltering, kind of like TES did, where they would just let the game happen to them.
This is exactly how sluggish they looked in those last 2 games against AL. It is just afraid to commit to the comp you drafted. And we gave them so much credit. And what really stings the most, Bloxer, is that this is a very similar style comp to how they won last game.
Yeah. Go in. Make something happen. Obviously, it's not that simple, but in some ways it kind of is, right? Yeah, at this point, you've gotten so far behind that that doesn't necessarily work. 20 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago, this was a much stronger composition. I think the worst bit for me so far has been Aki not using this Vi the second you hit 6 and just getting kills and ganks and all of that. That's like what you have to do on this champion. Exactly.
Well, he's trying to be a little bit cheeky with the brush here as Runa's outcome will get started up. See a lot of teams throw around this buff, especially with the revive given over to whoever secures it. Kanavi committing to a ppgod once again going in, maybe a little bit too early here with Doinby off to the side. But where's the commit of these ultimates? In goes Doinby. He's got 369. We were waiting for the mid lane stable to find his moment. But Aki's burned through next. The next perfect excuse for Doinby. He has to flash himself out, and it's Kanavi's time to sing. Stasis down for Doinby, but he's as good as dead. And Shanji's not taking enough to hold on to the front line. The scene is played. 4 crits finds leave, but he crit shots him to the face. Shanji trying to kite back, buy space for his AD carry, but Creme's found a kill. They're going forward instead. They find JackeyLove. Is it Leaf's moment once again? The Kaisa from game 1 to give them the win. It could be the Jin from game 2 to save them. Triple kill to Leaf. NIP blowing up out of nowhere.
Oh my lord, I was so ready to come out of this fight and criticize this Jin. Doesn't do a lot of damage, wasn't really doing what it needed to. Apparently, Leaf just needed time. I love it. Flashing forwards, getting himself those kills. Let's watch him for the entirety of this team fight because it starts with the massive Aki flank. I love that. But this ulti, it really doesn't feel like the curtain call's doing very much. In fact, misses that last shot. It's much later on in this team fight. He literally is standing. He pressed S just then.
He's still
pressing
standing
S
still.
again.
What's going on?
What?
Is he like Goku right now, just trying to like charge up for this back end of the fight?
Apparently so. I didn't realize that you could stand literally still for this much of a team fight and win it for your team.
I just gave socials their free tweet for this fight. I mean, my guy was standing. It's like what's the what was it called, the summoner spell you could take in arena where like you just stand in a corner and power up?
I can't remember what it is, but yeah.
Yeah, he was just standing there like
just standing there waiting. Hey, Jin does more damage after 4 seconds of standing still, apparently. And hey, It works. And all of a sudden, this game feels a little bit less lopsided than it did previously. Not lopsided. But that is now going to be 3 fully completed items here onto Leave, including the LDR, right? So you are now actually going to be able to get through these tanky frontliners. Now, let's do it all again.
Deja vu. Ooh, good interrupt on the headbutt there from Creme. ppgod already at half HP. He's holding on to the Unbreakable Will.
Atakan's low,
He's going to teleport back in. Atakan is angry. Hasn't reset just yet, though, and all of top esports are out of vision. Will it finally reset? We'll have to see here. Charm onto Creme. There it is.
Okay,
Atakan is reset, and that spoils a lot of trouble here for top esports as they've juggled the aggro for a while, but 369 is looking for the big equalizer. Can the rest of TES get forward? No. That ultimate going to be used just to zone, and they'll restart the Atakan.
This is fine right here for NIP. It's a lot blown already out of TES, but they do have kind of low health bars. They need to find another big fight. Leave is once again stood still.
Both takes are about half HP. Aki singled out off to the side. He's going to use the assist on the 369, but he's all alone, and the curtain call bullets are not hitting the priority targets. ppgod going to go down next. It looks like TES bided their time correctly this time round. Second time's the charm. Get the 2 kills and get themselves a revive buff.
I guess I kind of see the idea, right? You have Leave and Aki working together, trying to just blow up, assassinate on to 369 again, but it just doesn't work in the backside of that fight. They are going to lose the Atakan and the Baron potentially as well, straight over onto that secondary buff. And that doesn't really feel like there's anything you can do here. It's going to be a mid lane tier 1 and the Dragon as the trade. Yeah, not the most equal of trades, and this is going to be great for top esports.
It's another fight where NIP are unsure about when they want to go in, and you just cannot survive in this game making those mistakes. The longer these fights draw out, the more space you're buying for guys like 369 and JackeyLove. You'll see it here in this replay.
I think Aki probably should have just Bolt Breakered away in that situation, but I guess potentially thought he was going to get caught out. Or they could just blow up 369. They aren't able to, though. And instead is going to be Baron and Atakan. You've got that Voracious buff, so you can step up without any worries. This is the best way to dive turrets in the game. You shred them, you don't care about how much damage they do to you. All good all the way through. And MIP, they're going to have to find themselves a bunch of kills right here early on if they want to stop this combo from annoying them for the next minute. And then another one on top of that with just the Baron.
Just such a tough corner to be back into. If you're NIP, you can see they're already surrendering all turrets outside of their base walls. But even that's not going to accomplish anything. NIP, once again, in that same spot. You need to make a decision. Go in or surrender more. And for now, they're not willing to commit anywhere. Maybe trying to swing around to go towards 369, but he's playing as safe as he possibly can. They're trying to cut the wave down. Doing a pretty good job at it, but it's only buying them a couple more seconds as they lose their inhibitor on the bot side.
And now top. Sorry, mid gonna get pushed through right here. That's
okay. Not the
pretty
most useful
early.
Equalizer.
No, the equalizer not necessarily gonna do quite what 369 was hoping that it would. At the same time, really not the end of the world. You're still gonna be able to put this pressure through as minions pour in through the bottom lane. Mid lane tier 3 tower gonna go down. Inhib soon to follow. And NIP, they're gonna have to pull the last stand out sooner rather than later.
Shuriken onto Creme. He's already about a quarter HP. Doiby just doesn't want to pull the trigger. Deadly Force lands, but they got the Chains of Corruption on Leaf. Does use the cleanse, and now Kanavi's far too far forward. And Leaf's going to bring out the curtain call. Remember, we still have revives across the board. There is one down. Kanavi gets sniped out. They've got a couple more seconds. Maybe now NIP can go, but it's a huge solar flare from Chris. He's going to re-engage with the rest of his team. Doiby finds the kill to Kanavi, though. Picks himself up a second, and they have Leave untouched. It's JackeyLove and 369 that have to play back. They've got no revives to bail them out, and Leave gets to fire shot after shot into the hearts of TES. It may have cost them 2 inhibitors, but NIP make another big stand.
NIP, every fight that they can get Leave untouched in to begin to win this. 4 items completed. Eye-Edge now in his back pocket. If NIP are to win this game, if they're to pull off a comeback of the century, they're going to have to play fully through Leave. And this actually starts with Leave having to cleanse away from the Chains of Corruption, and then he kind of just sits on the backside of this fight once again, keeps himself as far away as possible, and I like the decision out of neny here to play forward, but they're waiting on damage. At this point is when the buff fell off, and then you can actually go for this fight, but it's a mess of a team fight. I don't know why TES have pushed themselves quite so far forward when they know their Voracious buff is wearing off.
Still do get a lot of the map to themselves again, right? They have 2 inhibitors down, constant waves pushing in the mid and bot lane so they can turn attention towards top side. Luckily for neny, though, after stealing away that 3rd Ocean Drake, there's not a ton on the map for TES to really even punish with these inhibitors down for now.
Yeah. Absolutely. 3 minutes until those inhibitors are back, though, and certainly less than that on both the Drake and the Baron, so it will come into play in a little while. As neny, I really don't think you can just allow TES to pick themselves up this next Baron. That would spell the end.
We got to go back and talk about it here, Bloxer. Once more, the series is headlined by players. So we came in here talking about the form Creme was in. JackeyLove and Chris finally connecting on the TES side. neny, still a team headlined by Doinby. And the OMG components of Shanji, Aki, and ppgod. I listed nearly everybody, but the main guy that is performing better than anyone else right now is Leaf. Another game where he is clearly the MVP for neny, regardless if they find a way back into this one or not.
Yeah, exactly. neny, they need to keep playing around this guy because he is having a hell of a day. If you can keep it up, then that may well be the key to success. Right now, TES, they really need to actually get on top of him at some point, but full build and GA in the back pocket. So you are very safe right now as Leave. Just depends on if you're able to actually step up close enough to deal your damage. That 4th shot crit is going to be hitting like an absolute truck. But these team fights have been so messy. 369 been doing such a good job of zoning people out. But still, it's wild looking at how many items people have. There's plenty of people close to full build.
God,
oh,
gonna eat the charm. Are they
he's
looking
just
for
going to
an
go in.
with
They're going to go for it.
They're going on to JackeyLove. Cease and desist down. Equalizer going to buy some space. Where is Doinby? He's trying to fly in, but Aki's already down. Curtain call coming across. Doinby gets the perfect execution onto JackeyLove. How much space can he create? Goes into the stasis with both Kanavi and Creme in his face, and unfortunately, Shanji, ppgod, and Leave just could not cut down the angle. Ton of ults being dropped in that mid lane skirmish, and somehow we end up with a 3v3 still, and look what's spawning on the map. Could they get Ocean Soul? They've caught him on a reset here, Bloxer.
Yeah, I mean, Kanavi's in the area. You don't have a smite.
This is risky.
You don't have a smite, and Kanavi certainly does.
Oh, but they got the big crit shot. Kanavi's going to have to go in. Is Leave going to get
this?
this?
Oh my
Leave
lord, they
Ocean
lose it.
Soul for
Look at their base, though. Look at their base.
They're losing Nexus turrets on the back end. 369 and Creme have teleport. They don't need to take this fight. Allow Kanavi to stall, but they want the skirmish here. Shanji very, very tanky, and now waves are back up. The Nexus turrets are safe for now. What a stall out from TES. They just couldn't make up their mind.
Oh, that's one of those ones where your solo queue teammates are pinging you like, hey, you're the jungler, smite that away, without realizing that Leave's 4th shot actually does more damage than a smite does at this point in the game. It is a truly insane amount of damage. And this is a fight where, once again, neny, it doesn't go badly for them. That's the first fight for them in a while where they haven't actually lost more members than they've been able to take out from their opponents. Leave, he played that one very safe, exactly as he needs to. We'll see if there's going to be another big engage coming through.
But now the worries we had for TS's comp are coming through here, right? Especially with the Ocean Soul. ppgod and Shanji are so tanky by this point. JackeyLove's effectiveness in this game has been cut in half in my mind.
Absolutely it has, and this is the thing, right? It doesn't matter how much you put down a K'Sante and an Alistar if you let the game go on for this long. This is a 40-minute game at this point, and boy does it feel like it.
neny look dead in the water, but they're fighting their way back. Could they find the big win in this one? Solar Flare from Chris only finds ppgod, and now neny, lean back into your Ocean Soul. Stall out, wait, see how much more the poke you can survive, how much more ultimates you can take off of this TES comp. There's the Spirit Rush out for Creme. Equalizer down as well. neny, are they going to re-engage or play stall here? ppgod's taking up so much damage. Here's the curtain call from Leave, and in goes Doinby. He's going on top of Chris. Aki has JackeyLove as well. Doinby looking for the 5-point strike to finish it all, but won't find it just just yet because Leave is doing all the work on the front side. Look at all the space Doiby's buying, flashing away from the flame spinner, but it's the stasis from Creme to buy some time. Leave needs to stay up and find these
still alive.
shots. And boy, what a shot did he find! Flashes and eviscerates Creme. Leave is doing it all on his own to keep neny alive and maybe back in the lead for this game too.
How is his back right now for this carry? I mean, right now, Leave is the man possessed, dragging neny through this game. I cannot believe they're back in this one. They're going back for the Baron. There's no jungler. Did they just get this?
I mean,
what is happening?
I mean,
What is this game?
Crisp is taking like public transit to get up to this Baron. Finally, they're gonna spot out with a scrying orb, but once again, a crit shot and a smite, like nobody is stopping Aki and Leave together. They have to kill them. Equalizer is down. Leave steps out of it, but there's the Baron.
There's the Baron. Wait, does he just get to base the back of the pit as well?
What has gone into TES in these last 20 minutes?
This is the TES we were worried would show up, right? This is the TES that we did get in the first game. And this is the TES that, oh boy.
All flying to that back line. I mean, this is what we wanted in the opening 10 minutes, Bloxer.
Every fight, I just have to watch Leave, and this has been true in the previous game and this one. He's like a different player than the previous game. Right? That shot was nice as well. But also, in that previous game, what we were talking about with Leave was how exciting it was that with the Kai'Sa, he was flying into the background. Man possessed.
Right.
This is the single safest Jhin game I think I've ever seen. He's also changing up his build as well.
He's not got boots anymore. He wants the extra.
No.
He's got double cleanse going right now.
He's full build. He's the full build plus. And to be fair, at the point at which you're using your boots because you've been caught, you're dead anyway. I hear as Leave. I get it. Do the extra damage. See what you can do to really be that carry for your team. Because if they make this comeback happen, if they put TES on the brink of elimination from Split 1 after this level of a comeback, I mean, surely the spirits of TES are broken at that point.
And once again, we started to see some good fights from Doinby come out here. Some of the other ex-OMG guys making big plays. Aki's back in form. But it's the one member of neny that not enough people have been talking about. And now it's going to be all of the rage if they can get this done. And honestly, Bloxer, at this point, I feel like they're in the lead just based off of scaling the Ocean Soul and how much of the map they're starting to break open with no resistance.
I mean, everybody pretty much at this point is full build. There's very little at this point that actually separates out these teams. A couple people are still trying to scrape together their items. Poor supports always are. Top laners as well haven't quite been able to fill everything up, but still, the main carries, they've got all of their items. They're in really strong positions. None stronger than Leave. You're right. There's very little separating these teams right now. Of course, what could be the deciding factor other than Elder Dragon? An Elder Dragon plus the soul that neny have would likely spell the end for TES. Yeah, Baron.
I got tricked.
Baron
runs out.
That's the Baron running out. Yes, indeed. Yeah, Baron going to be offset from this quite heavily. So you're very much playing around this objective. It's one of those situations where you know exactly who's playing around what and where. Now it depends on what flanks can happen. We've seen both Doinby, Aki, and Shanji find themselves big flanks in this game that have been part of the reason neny have been able to keep themselves in it. Can they do it again?
It's the controlled chaos of creating so much havoc in TS's backline that now they can't worry about Leave. But they have to get to this gym. Leave will define this game, whether by hitting the gray screen or crit-shotting everybody home for TES. This is where TES need to make the stand. They cannot afford to go down 2-0 in this nature, and it's all going to come down to good old Big Graybeard himself. Aki popping out of vision, looking for that flank. Good call out, Bloxer. The Elder is very low. Aki's getting chunked super down.
He's dead.
That's his GA gone. A big blunder from the neny jungler. What can TES capitalize with off the back of this one? Aki's going to come back up here. Has the Ocean Soul. Doesn't need to reset. He's got enough regen if he wants it, but it's going to give TES control of the Elder for now.
In fact, he's on vision there. Changes everything. Oh, hang on. There's the engage. Oh, he hurt so bad.
Yep. Ooh, gets the shot through. First shot. They got to protect Crisp of all people, the support.
Ooh!
How does that third one get through?
What?
My lord. He is at a blinking health bar. There is no reason Chris should ever nearly go down there, and he has to reset. He doesn't have the Ocean Soul. Aki, look at his health bar. He's all the way back up. It's a 5v4 for NIP right now, looking to steal this game too. And oh boy, I'm terrified. It's going to come down to a 50-50 smite fight. Unless Aki said, we're going in for JackeyLove. All bards are off. They're flying in, but Aki goes down first. Doinby has JackeyLove.
Leave's getting jumped.
Down the damage, and Leave is finally getting jumped. He has 2 cleanses. Cleanses off the bird as well. Hits the deadly flourish. Leave is still up, but he's losing all of his teammates, and Creme's gonna hunt him down. Good dodge on the Q. Kanavi's up next, trying to find the kill. One more crit shot. Leave gets it. GA down. How is Leave alive? It finally burns to the equalizer. GA up, but it doesn't matter. 369 has done it. He's rescued TES at the biggest fight point of the game. Before they slip from their grasp, TES wrestle back this series even.
Oh my lord, finally Leave dies, and that is the nail in the coffin that TES needed. This game, it was in their grasp 20 minutes ago, and it has taken 25 more for them to be able to close this one out. Finally, they will do it. Send us to evens. We've got a series on our hands. NIP, somehow, that's a heartbreaker.
Yeah. We were like, man, TES, this is going to be a heartbreaker down 2-0, and now it's completely switched on its head, and this was a game, Bloxer, marred by mistakes, honestly, across the board.
Yes, it was. I would love to say that this was the cleanest League of Legends I've ever watched. I'm not a liar. That was scrappy in so many ways. I mean, that last fight, I'm genuinely gutted for NIP, because that fight was in their hands. I question heavily why we saw that very aggressive engage right there out of Aki. I don't feel like you needed to do it. As you kept pointing out, you've got Ocean Soul. You've just sent your opponents. You've just sent your opponent back to the Nexus for their support. Like, it didn't need to go down that way. But then again, it didn't need to be a 45-minute long game in the first place. What was that?
That was a grit fest, as I'd like to call it. It was grinding it out. Who really wanted it more? And it's one of the veterans of the CES roster. That fight had 2 369 equalizers, and both of them took down GAs.
Yes, exactly. 369, I think, genuinely deserves MVPs just for that equalizer. I mean, not that equalizer, all of them. There were great equalizers from the very moment that he ticked 6 until those last 2, as you said, that were able to secure them the game. But it wasn't just 369. As much as he played a big part, this was the top esports that we were really hoping to see. I think Kanavi and Creme also had very good games. And then also, they looked so shaky on trying to actually close this one out. They killed Leave exactly once, and it was apparently the right amount that they needed to be able to win the game. But still, you cannot allow Leave to run through in a 3rd game in a row.
Yeah, look, he saw JackeyLove's Gen game yesterday, and he was like, hold on a minute. Let me see where I can step up and do.
Yeah.
But for NIP, this is the worry, right?
Yes.
We talked about at the top of the show. We needed guys other than Doinby to step up. What happens though when Doinby is the one that's falling pretty quiet here? I understand like the Akali pick was partly to deny Creme the Akali, but outside of maybe that one fight they won mid lane, this Akali just did not get enough value.
Very quiet game out of a player who doesn't have a lot of quiet games. Often, when Doinby's on, it's amazing, and when Doinby's off, oh boy, do you know about it. Whereas this one, it just felt like he wasn't quite able to find those big plays in any situation, and it didn't feel like a particularly tough game to be able to play the Akali. We were expecting JackeyLove to die a lot, not something that actually ended up happening. Just a really odd one overall between both of these teams. You come away from that as NIP going, dang, we had that. And you come away from that one happy, obviously, as top because you won, but your coaches are not going to be happy bunnies when you walk into that back room.
No, certainly won't be. I mean,
look at the gold grab.
The gold grab. It looks like Megalodon came down and chomped out the bottom of that gold grab. It just dropped it through it. And look at Leave and JackeyLove. Those two have to cover over half the damage in this game. Yeah. Maybe not with 369, but wow.
between the three of them, now that's well over it. That was so much damage from just a couple of players.
Oh, man. Leave is 43% of his team's damage. He dies once. I mean, that's got to be the most tilting loss ever.
Yeah, I really hope he's able to keep his head on straight after that one, because I want to see more of these impressive performances. And like I highlighted midway through, they were very different performances. Game 1, super aggressive. Game 2 was sat back. Maybe he could have been more aggressive in the early stages of the game. I don't know. It seemed to nearly work out. I think for NIP, if you're going to draft yourself the sort of composition that has early game priority in some lanes, go play it. Go get that aggression and make it pay itself back for you. Otherwise, as we saw, they kind of just let the game happen to them up until 25 minutes when all of a sudden they realized, oh, there's a game happening, and then they showed up. But at that point, they were down 7,000 gold, and it's testament to them that they were nearly able to bring it back. But still, 7k, almost an insurmountable lead, and we saw it here.
I'm glad that phrase you said, I think, sums this up perfectly. At points in this game, NIP and TES just sat back and let the game come to them when they both drafted comps where that was the exact way you lose with said comp.
Exactly. It's really an interesting look for both of these teams, and it makes me think about whoever wins this one going on to face up against BLG. Because BLG, they do not let that happen to you. The way that Thunder Talk were able to pick themselves up as many wins versus BLG as they did across this split was by constantly being the aggressors.
Yes.
Fighting at every available opportunity and being damn good at it. Now, both of these teams are good at team fighting, but they're a lot more reticent to actually go in, make the plays happen for themselves. You can't do that. Now, obviously, different opponents. Maybe this game they really felt that they needed to play it a little bit slower. I disagree, though, and I disagree with that engage as well. I think that, unfortunately, was not the right decision, and we see it in the end. Leaf still does his absolute damn best to be able to pick this one up.
Look at Doinby, right? I mean, like, how many times do you see an Akali alone with an AD carry, and it's a kill? Like, it should instantly be a kill. This time, he doesn't kill JackeyLove. He's just stuck in no man's land.
Yeah.
And Leaf just can't do enough. He's the last one to die here on an assassin. Like, that's not how this champion works.
No, not particularly, and it really means that it's back to the drawing board. We've seen what Top were able to do when they headed back in the previous game. Now, what do NIP change around for themselves? Because they've used up quite a lot of their best pickups. Like you said, it was a really good performance on the Jhin. That one's now gone. The Vi, I think it's the strongest jungler in the meta at the moment. That one is off of the board as well. K'Sante. K'Sante! Like, you lost here as NIP with a ton of the best stuff available.
Yeah, and even on the flip side, because it's full Fearless, right? You lose the Varus if you want to go for that. I know it's a premier AD carry pick. Like, we're starting to really lose engage supports. That's always a big issue. Rumble's off the board with 369 getting that win. We'll talk about that a lot during draft. Bloxer, we're going to see the MVP here, and I'm with you. I'm hoping we're getting a 369 MVP, because this Rumble was, even through the woes, the most consistent, and there we go. We're rewarded.
Yeah, indeed. And it feels very well deserved right here. 369, those equalizers were winning every single time. Those were stopping the slow team fights that NIP wanted to play for themselves. They were not allowed to just sit there and play slow because they had an equalizer dropped on their heads pretty much immediately. And there was also that fight around the topside jungle where he chases Leave out from his curtain call, stopping all of that damage from coming through. I think 369 played a very well played game. It wasn't as flashy as some potential MVP performances, but he was definitely the linchpin upon which the rest of the team was sat.
The linchpin that barely held up for TES to get this win. It was muddy, bruised knuckles on both sides, tons of mistakes, a lot to learn from, but not a lot of time for either of our squads. We are now into the best of 3 with this full Fearless format. When we come back, we'll go to Game 3 draft here with a ton of champions off the board and the stakes elevated. Game 3 coming your guys' way.